The meeting will come to order. Please stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody here from Fred?
No.
No.
Okay, the agenda.
Sure I didn't. Are there
He said he was going to be here this morning. He had a meeting with different people.
I just supposed to be running late then.
Fred had asked about adding or asking for a closed session.
There
is.
You're gonna have to recite it by yourself.
Somebody want to call the sheriff and tell him we found him?
We found him, he's good. Call off the dogs.
No, I was running that tight. I talked to a couple people on the way in. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry.
Big deal.
Well, when you get a chance to impart wisdom, you got to take it.
That looks like you got a full cup of coffee and then bring me one though.
I'm not sure that is a universal. I'll leave it at that.
We're talking about the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Fred, you had talked to me yesterday. Okay, you're all right. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Minutes from the previous meeting.
Minutes look good. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes approved. Public comment? I don't think we have anyone to comment, so Brian, you want to come up?
Morning.
Good morning.
I have one item today for currently whenever we have to put a NOTAM out, a notice to the airmen about runway condition or shutting the airport down or any type of issues out there. We need to make a phone call to do that in order to, there's another way of doing it, which is a web-based application. But in order for us to get everything set up in the system and to put out the NOTAMs online, we need to get a memorandum of agreement from the county. So I'm just in here requesting to do that, just that we have access to everything online instead of calling in.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Okay, thank you. Sure, after Jack signs it, if you can just email me the copy and I can send it in.
Thank you, Brian, for all your help on that project yesterday, too.
You're welcome.
I really appreciated it. You know, the bill-
He was quick.
Are you ready then?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
Today is, okay. Morning.
Good morning. So we're here today to talk about the 2017 EMPG grant, the Emergency Management Performance Grant. This is the grant that we get every year based off of our population and what the FEMA can contribute to the state, which this year was $18,709 total. That's the amount we can get up to that. So this year we're doing it a bit differently than we've done it the past few years because in the past Kurt did not use it for his salary due to his other positions with being a deputy and all of that. But one of the things about my position was that we could use it for the salary. Now this year, the salary, as you see on the sheet that I gave you, we can only use up to $9,443 for the salary due to it being only 6 months of this year for my salary, as well as I'm only half-time. This number is more likely to change in the coming years and go up. So that's just what this year's is. We did have another $9,000 so dollars that we could use for other things. So I have budgeted for the reimbursement for training, such as the lodging for various classes and stuff I've been going to. Like I went to Camp Ripley last week to get some classes for my certifications. I also did reimbursement for the AMEM conference and membership, as well as the governor's conference in February. So those are both listed on there. And for equipment, these are ones that we kind of worked together and identified. The generator for the command trailer. We had an issue with our air conditioner, and a warranty replaced it because of it a month or two ago. And in doing so, the person that had sold us our trailer commented that the generator that was in there would not be able to run any of the equipment in there. So we are looking to purchase a generator and have identified that in the grant. And then the last thing in there was the weather siren frequency and software update. Some of you may remember about 10 years ago, we did a grant for 10 tornado sirens throughout the county. These are two-way frequency sirens, so they're supposed to be able to talk back to a computer and tell us whether or not they're working, whether the battery needs to be replaced or anything like that. That needs to be updated in order for that other half to work. So that price includes the labor for that, as well as updating our software, which is from 2009. So that is pretty much everything I have for this year. And I'm looking for just an approval of the grant, and then I will need a signature from the chair in order to recognize it. It is officially approved at the state, pending the signature.
Motion to approve.
I just got one comment. The weather siren frequency, that portion I had budgeted into next year's budget because I didn't believe it was going to be included in the grant this year, so I will be able to take that out of the budget on the preliminary.
This is a matching grant too, isn't it?
Yes.
If I okay.
Is
I'll
there a
second it.
Yeah. Any comments, questions?
Sounds good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
All right,
I
thank
think
you.
in the, I heard you and I think Teresa talking before, I think we can thank our lucky stars or whatever that we have not had any major, you know,
Disasters.
when you think about Las Vegas, it's just, well, it's unthinkable.
It is unthinkable.
And
We're very lucky here to
Yeah,
not have had
and-
anything natural or terroristic.
Yeah.
and
This
it's-
year,
So,
yeah. Our
But,
biggest things have been floods,
Yeah.
really, and the
But-
one railroad incident.
but it does indicate the importance of readiness. And
Absolutely.
You don't want to be sitting on your hands when it does happen, so, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioners.
Thanks.
Want to see if Rick can come down a little early, maybe.
Rick Frank's one of the people that saw them all.
So you know he's here.
Both him and Aaron.
See Rick's two bids here.
Yeah.
So the only thing is really kind of still unknown is the inspections.
We're ahead of
Right.
schedule. Could Rick and Aaron come in now?
That,
And it looks like both of them kind of inspection only.
yeah, I shouldn't say for the inspection, it's the abatement.
Right.
That's not included. They're assuming not much. but
Okay, bye.
They can't really say, you know, most of the flooring is already fell in.
Sure.
So that should hopefully eliminate any flooring that they could maybe possibly inspect to come up with a lot of your
Certainly.
linoleums and stuff have asbestos.
Oh, sure.
That runs into a problem.
I was thinking concrete, but yeah.
And shingles can run into a problem, and he said fire damage on the roof. He said maybe they're gonna say they really can't
Sure.
do any abatement even. Yeah, he's kind of hoping, so. But he said this could overrun if there is some abatement.
So, well, we'll wait, but wondering which one you,
I'd go with the most expensive one.
well, are they apples to apples?
It looks like it because both of them, like Van
So
Gundy
just
took
do
out
it.
the abatement, and then Zinke's the same thing, said unknown inspection only. So it's
Okay.
apples to apples.
Okay.
They both said they don't want to do or worry about that portion.
Yeah,
yet.
one says inspection only, another one crossed it out, so I think they're bidding it, Zach. I
Yeah,
would say.
inspection only.
Yeah.
Yep.
Morning,
Pretty hard not to go with.
you're on.
Yeah.
Yeah. A bunch of your fans came this morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, given this day, yeah, that's probably it. In your packet, or I think going, and this is on the, what I want to discuss today is the bids that came in on that Money Creek Schoolhouse that we had discussed earlier. We did put a RFP out, a request for proposal to a number of contractors out there. We did receive 2 back that were fairly close in price. I did run into, and I did cover this with Sam yesterday, I ran into on the bids, one little problem, and that was having to do with the asbestos abatement. They can give a price for doing the inspections, but we do not have any kind of a idea of how much and what is in there. And until you do the inspection, you can't really give a price on it. So the contractors I did talk to, that both of them are here, I just said maybe put the inspection price down and the county will have to cover the disposal at a later date, because that's an unknown. I did talk to some of these inspectors prior to this. With it being in a fire and everything, it really kind of jeopardizes a lot of material that's in there, and there may be nothing. Just because of the mere fact it's a safety factor, like say if it was in the basement, part of that basement and everything's collapsed already. So I mean, you're not probably going to find a lot, and that's usually a lot where the piping was, the old piping in some of these schools were at. So unless you get in there, it's really hard to say just how much material is there. And that was the only thing I ran into as far as any kind of a on the bid. And I did check with Sam yesterday on suggesting to the board that if you're going to accept these bids of leaving that open, that the county would actually pick up the cost for that that material and add it to the bid here. Otherwise, like I said, I went through these. What we'll have to do, if there's a contractor that's awarded this today, we'll have to go back and then we'll have to draft up, work with Sam of a contract, and to make sure that their insurances and their bonds and everything are in line for what the RFP called for. And that we can draft up and present to the board and to the contractor's signature to move this forward.
We had talked earlier, excuse me, you had some kind of a estimate or a guesstimate on what we might recoup when this is cleared off and we can sell the property?
Well, the lots from the assessor's office, that's what I was going by. The lots are worth more than what the bids are
Yeah,
here.
we will.
And Sam has already recorded the necessary documents to know that there's pending litigation on these 2 lots, so that if they do get sold, if they get sold in between, somebody knows that there's actions out there, an attorney will know pending. And once we do have, what we're calling for is the completion of this by May 1st. Everything here will be completed, and all the bills into the county by June 1st. And then from there, we would then record these fees, or what you might say, the cost that we have stuck into these, to the lots. And once the lots are sold, or if the county gets them back, tax forfeiture, or we have to sell them, that we would get our money back.
Okay.
I did have a chance this morning, I did talk with the township, and you know, like I said, there's a lot of people wondering what's going on, and would like the county to proceed on this here, but that's, like I said, I can't speak for the board on what they want to do with this here, moving forward, so, I can present the 2 bids to you and go from there.
I think we talked about moving forward with it. We have to do something anyway.
Yeah.
You know, we did have an asbestos abatement with a trailer a few years ago.
Well, we've had,
we?
that was meth,
Meth, okay. And there was quite a bit of asbestos at that time,
right.
but,
It's a process you go through. We've had it in the courthouse here when we redid some of the courthouse, remember?
okay, yeah,
A few
that's
years
right.
back, remodeling, so.
Rick, do you have any idea, worst case scenario, what this asbestos thing might actually, worst case scenario now, be costing us in the end?
No,
No ballpark on it.
no, I don't.
Yeah, it's just absolute.
I've never been in the
absolute
building,
blank
Fred's- yeah.
until somebody
Does the
inspects it and says, okay, this is what you got, folks. And
How bad was that fire? Like, is there a chance it took out a lot of the floor anyway?
Yeah, there's floors missing,
Okay,
one down.
okay, okay. So
that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, for us,
true.
yes.
I mean, it got quite hot because the inside has been, and she went out through the roof, and your floors, yeah, some of the floors collapsed and it's laying in the basement.
Okay.
This, Rick, question, would it be prudent to do pay for just an inspection? Or are we on, say we sign a contract with the low bid here, and the inspection comes out that we gotta do a lot of abatement, which puts us way over the price we could ever recoup, and we didn't wanna get involved. Not that I don't know how we could probably wash our hands of it right now, but is that an idea to go with the inspection separately?
Yeah, we could.
At least we
And
know where
then
we're at.
take that out of, I could talk to the low bidder here and just say the county will take over the asbestos and leave them out of it. And I'm sure, right now, they're going in it as an unknown too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you know as well as I do, when you get into the asbestos, all the, what it takes, for setting up and abating something is quite costly.
Oh, yeah.
It is quite costly.
Who does those inspections?
The firm I was talking to, Fred, was out of Rochester. You've got to be certified, you got to be trained, licensed, and bonded to do inspections on it and abatement.
So how does that work then? If like what Scott's saying, I guess I can understand if you go in there and say, oh, there's all this that has to be gone through. Do they literally just put it aside and then you come back later and get rid of it?
No, no.
So I guess my other concern would be that, not that this would happen, but if you went to the low bidder, but then all of a sudden the asbestos, you could jack the price of the asbestos up because you already have the contract.
But we'd be paying for the asbestos, that'd be completely separate, so they shouldn't be able to do that, because,
Well, what I would be getting and where everything is going through is going to the La Crosse County landfill. So we'll have, I'll have disposal.
Okay, so it wouldn't really have anything to do with the contractor
Right, the
doing anything. It's
contractor
more
should-
the landfill that would charge us, right?
right,
Okay.
and the abaters,
Yeah, I mean, the work to be involved.
right.
You're gonna have companies set up and like I
These
said,
guys will come in and they'll go through this house and take little pieces of everything and send it into labs and have it tested for asbestos. And they'll come back and say, yeah, this, and this has gotta be removed. They'll come in with their white suits on and spray it all down and wet it and go in and remove what they think is all asbestos, bag
Yeah.
it in the proper stuff, get the proper tanks that you put it in, and then they'll ship it to a disposal site. And that's where your expenses come in.
right.
And that's a separate company
But,
that would do that?
yeah, so that wouldn't affect
Okay, good.
our guys here, but it could definitely
Mm-hmm.
affect our end cost.
Sure, gotcha.
Absolutely.
Rick, would it be logical for us to, at this point, just simply take that second line out of the contract entirely, and you contact the asbestos inspector, get him to do his thing, and then we know where we are, and the asbestos thing simply isn't a part of the contract at all, because we're gonna have to pay for it anyway.
Right.
Why,
I mean, we
why,
can do
why
that,
shouldn't
Brad.
why shouldn't we then be in charge of the inspecting if we're gonna have to do the abatement, if any, anyway?
Now, the price that they quoted here is what I was told.
Yeah.
That's right in the ballpark of what I told to do the inspection.
Yeah, I'm sure it
So that's
is.
something that, if you want, I can proceed on and have a contract or have the inspections done and go from there. If you have.
Do you see a downside to that at all, Rick? Timelines, maybe?
Well, I think timeline, probably not. It's gonna have to all be done prior to them even starting construction anyway. I've been talking with a firm out of Rochester, trying to get a handle somewhat on, so I had a good ballpark when I was trying to give the board here an estimate on costs. I had several conversations with gentlemen up there out of a firm of what it would all take, and he was very upfront, said, you know, actually it's an unknown. I mean, until you do the inspections, you just don't know. And it says it even compounds things even further when you have a burnt facility. And what compounds it, it's been sitting there for 10 years already.
Yeah.
So you don't know. I mean, look at the rain and the weather and the stuff that's been through that, the snow. I mean, the roofs are open. Yeah.
Wasn't there also a firm out of La Crosse that we got for the trailer one? No, for the asbestos. Public Health might know that.
Yeah, there is
Dave, was Davey maybe doing that, engineering?
Oh, Davy Labs, yeah.
I think we had an outfit, that did the abatement might have been out of La Crosse.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a guy that, he ski patrols, and I can't even think of his name, but I don't know what the company goes by, but I know I thought they were involved, but
But see, you're just having the inspection done, the abatement would have to
be a separate.
separate item.
Anyway.
Yeah.
If we identify what's there.
Well, at this point, should we
I think we
simply
should just,
pick
What
this
would we do
and,
with this, then, would you say, Rick, if we went with just, we'll take care of the inspection, we'll see about abatement? Do we approve this and just kind of put it on hold till we get the information?
We can do that, because the thing is, like I said,
You
when
still
I
gotta
had,
write it up.
when I sent the bid out, it was depending on county board,
Uh-huh.
what you want to do.
How long would this be good for, say, you know, if we're taking over the inspection, is this bid gonna be good
I would,
after inspection?
if that was the case, Scott, what I would do is get a hold of the gentleman I was, had been going with, and he has been down there already, so I have had time to work, and what they've got, like I said, this is what he was telling me it was, the inspection alone would take. I could work with him maybe within 30 days and have that done, hopefully. And I need to talk to him though first. I mean,
could
what
we
should we-
approve the low bid minus the inspection cost?
Yeah,
And
because there's
proceed-
still the low bid,
Yeah.
even if you took that out.
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
and then,
And you'll take care of the
and
inspection?
then let Rick go from there with,
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
I can come back with, once the inspection's done and we have a plan of what kind of cost the figures on the abatement of it, then I can come back to the board with that.
With the
That-
actual contract to sign.
Okay,
So
all
we
right.
won't have a signed contract until we have abatements. by Rick.
Well, what
So
I
we
would
won't
do,
have
that I'd
that.
take that completely out of the contract
Yeah.
And just
for the
approve that minus-
contractor, and then
I
the
guess
county
what I'm
will.
getting at is that we're not on the hook for 46,000 if the abatement came in at 100,000.
Well, my suggestion is here, Scott, is let me get the inspection done. I'll need to have authorization from the board to get the inspector down there and pay that cost. And then I can come back to the board and let you know exactly what that amount's gonna be, because he'll have an idea of.
Right.
Yeah.
at-
So
at
you're
that time.
suggesting a hold on this until then, or?
Or you could
Well,
just approve it with
We
the
could approve it this
contingency
way,
that-
it gives the contractor, he can then
He knows
pencil
he's
it in, and he
for
don't
low
wash us
price.
out, you know, I ain't gone 30 days, he might throw a lot of work in front of us.
We
Okay,
have to do it conditional on the results of that inspection, though.
Sure.
Because, like
Right,
Scott
that's what
said,
Right.
if that comes in at 100,000 for asbestos abatement, we're gonna have to take another look at it.
Yeah.
We may come up with the same solution,
Yeah.
but at least we have to look at
Well,
it.
and I think, I can contact the low bidder here and have that explanation to
Yeah.
them, but at least then he knows.
He has a
His
book.
bid is good, and he can plan on this,
Minus the-
having knowledge of it within a few weeks after the inspection of
Yeah,
the go or not.
Okay,
because you
does-
can't really touch the building until the asbestos abatement
No,
is done.
okay.
All
All right, does
I will
somebody have a
move-
motion to
Yeah.
encompass what we've just talked about?
I will move to approve Van Gundy Excavating as a low bidder for the demolition and removal of the Money Creek Schoolhouse on the condition that work not start until we have officially gotten word on the asbestos
Abatement.
abatement figures.
Well, not only,
Or the contract, I should say, yeah.
yeah, we
Good.
don't want to say, well, we got the information, go ahead and start. We want to, I don't know how to,
Will the
Couch
contract be
that.
contingent on
yeah,
approval for the abatement portion?
Right.
that would be,
Contingent
Yeah.
on approval of abatement.
are you following that, Char?
Sam,
Yeah.
what we're doing here is awarding the bid for that schoolhouse, less the inspection and the abatement of the asbestos.
Sure.
And what they're asking me to do is to go ahead and get an inspector in there to find out exactly how much is there and what needs to be, or what measures need to be taken in order to remove, if we need to remove anything. And they wanna know the cost of that abatement, if there's gotta be anything moved. And then, but the rest of it could be, the contract could be awarded to the low bidder here.
And it makes sense because that asbestos is a known unknown for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody wants to volunteer, but I'm not gonna volunteer to walk through that place with it having a prior fire in the floors, need to do an inspection.
Oh, sure, send the zoning guy,
Well, send the
solid
zoning
waste guy. They're expendable.
You're closer to.
Yeah.
But that's the issue, and then how much
On
remains.
condition of
And so
approval of
it's
that.
really an unknown what it
Okay.
is. But
Yeah.
it also is the thing that's gonna create, it's going to catch the state's attention or any liability with the asbestos. And so that's really one of the unknowns here that we have to nail down, and it's the financial unknown certainly as well.
Okay. Did
Well-
we have a second to,
Yeah, second.
okay.
My main concern in opening this can of worms was that I wanted to make sure that this asbestos inspection stuff got done ASAP. And I just didn't, I'm more comfortable with your doing that than a contractor that I don't know. So that's why I opened the can of worms in the first place, but, yeah.
All right.
Sharp,
and-
could you read that back to us once? I just want to make sure we're covered as far as,
I will spiff it up when I put it in the minutes. Basically, you're approving the contract, or you're accepting the low bid minus the inspection and abatement costs with the contract contingent upon approval of the abatement.
That's right.
like it,
Better put the words
Very
asbestos
good,
in
Sean.
there. Asbestos abatement.
Asbestos abatement.
just asbestos. So are we just doing an inspection for asbestos, not hazardous waste or anything else?
No, there shouldn't, it's just the asbestos. That's
Yeah.
the only requirement I know that needs to be done.
Good.
There's things in there that I can, if there's appliances and that sort of stuff, as we're going through, I can handle that through the drop site. But most of that material will go straight to La Crosse.
Good.
All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And if anyone needs Rick this afternoon, he's going to be walking through the school, so.
With Sam?
Not quite, not quite.
We all grew up in the schools around here that are full of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're still kicking.
Yep.
Thank you.
right.
Thank you.
Hey, Rick, you want to let Aaron know we're running ahead of schedule?
What's that?
You want to let Aaron know we're running ahead of
We're
schedule?
waiting for,
I saw him walk by. He's
Oh,
here.
did he? Okay.
oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll bring him right back in.
Sure.
Dale probably wants
If I may, I'm Dale Arnold, Chair of the Moncrief Town Board.
Yes, sir.
We certainly thank you for what you're doing here. And, there's a lot of people involved in the golf and the whole area.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Dale.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Action items. Approve claims, human service, and license center disbursements.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Approved. Adopt a resolution and sign updated permit for parking lot at Meyer Building.
The only thing I would comment on,
And
and I
the
already
mi-
did
I saw that.
to Shar, is call it community service building. Because I don't know the Myers.
The problem is that then I won't know what she's talking about.
Well,
So
my wife's looking for a couch. Could she go there?
It was a furniture store, was it?
It was a
Oh,
furniture
okay.
store.
Furniture.
Did you get Scott's?
So moved.
And I'll second that.
And what exactly, I mean, what did we,
It's their permitting process. I ran it by Sam and he approved it. Do you want to comment on it, Sam?
it just
What the-
a routine?
It was
Parking 'em in the
interesting. Actually,
property.
I was talking with Brian, county engineer Kowazinski this morning, because it was, I didn't actually, I wanted to understand, I understood the contract, but as far as the area, my understanding there was, because the furniture building is next to Quillen's, and that initially when the county offices and stuff were moved over there, there was concerns that Quillen's didn't want people parking in their parking lot. And so then there had to be a spot for people to park next to the furniture building, sort of overload. And so then this agreement was created. Well, subsequently, Quillen's is relented and allowed people to park in the parking lot across the street. And so right now, what's really in this parking lot, according to engineer Kowazinski, is some trailers and stuff like that. It's not really employees parking there or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's more of an overflow, just in case they have a problem with Quillen's all along the park there.
Okay, did we have a second on the?
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This has to be signed.
No, that radio rack.
Oh, you have the tab. Good morning, Eric.
Hey.
Long time no see.
Yeah,
How's it going, guys?
good.
Been up since 4:30.
You got up when I did.
What's that?
I said you got up when I did. We should have communicated.
A few cups of coffee, and I'm ready to go.
Got up when I did too.
Nice.
Did you have to-
Gee, I just.
race car this
We're looking for permission from the board to purchase some permitting software. We've been batting this idea around for about 6 months, and after careful consideration, landed with Schneider Corp. You're all familiar with Schneider Corp, and they do many other things for the county. Reasons for this would be that the permitting process in Houston County has got some things that are very routine. Property line setbacks, for instance, are the same parcel to parcel, but there are other aspects that are very drastically for parcel to parcel based on our topography. This type of software will allow us to handle a lot of those perfunctory evaluations of an application without a lot of staff time, and thereby allow us to focus on more of the unique characteristics of individual parcels. That should provide for a better quality permitting product ultimately. We wouldn't be missing something due to human error. We wouldn't be focusing on things that aren't that don't justify that type of attention on an individual parcel. We would be focusing on the things that are challenging for that parcel. This product also additionally provides a database tool, which is really the primary motivation for me. Right now, all of our data is housed in spreadsheets that are individual years and or paper. It becomes, it's time consuming to find individual data on a specific parcel, but it's something that we do on a daily basis. But when you ask for aggregated historic data, that's where you really run into the problems, because that would mean for older permits, physically going through every paper permit to see how many permits for a house in 1983 did we have. You can't query that quickly. This product would allow for a searchable database. That limitation, I think, was highlighted when we've had past requests for how many quarry permits has the county ever granted. Got some criticism because we can't rapidly provide that number, and we're not providing with the utmost level of confidence, and that we don't have a searchable database where you can say, show me historic permitting results since official controls. Our recent years, say the last decade, but they're pretty good. It's the older ones that are problematic. However, these permits run with the land, so a permit granted 30 years ago is just as valid as a permit granted 10 years ago. So it's necessary to be able to provide that aggregate data. Our hope is, I guess our goal is to load all of our historic data into this database over time, ultimately scanning in whatever types of documents are associated with it too. So that would be a laborious undertaking for the initial few years, but the end result would be worth that work, and that you'd have something that would be a really...
And our staff would do the scanning in?
We've been scanning in since I came on board. Every permit that comes in, we scan in now.
Okay.
I don't know that we would... if we did do that, we would go on our... whatever time we can afford and work from the present back. Okay. Another option might be have that be a component of an internship.
Duties. You just went there. Yeah.
I just a quick comment. You and the 3,000 other counties in the United States are dealing with this, which is we have all these paper documents and they're trying to figure out a way to scan it. The most efficient way we've seen is usually through interns. It's not, people have asked us to do it and we're like, no, it's not. There's people that specialize in it, and even companies that specialize in it as well. Just a matter of how fast you want to get it done.
Yeah, and that doesn't have to happen immediately. I guess the way I'm viewing most things in our department, this included, is gradual progress. So as long as we're making progress toward what we're striving to achieve, we don't need to have all the permits from 1971 scanned tomorrow. But ultimately, we would like to have that.
My thought would be that the requests for something from 1971 they don't come in daily. So if in the realm of this, you're doing it, you're scanning, you're getting it caught up, but then somebody asks for something from 1967, you still go to the paper and find it. I mean, so it's not like you've...
See, there's a lot of times when you get to the point where you have to go back and start taking a look at parcels and the history and bring it forward, because a lot of things maybe have done in the past where, like say, when we started off, farms were considered at 10 acres. That got changed again, and see, that's where we need, that got changed, I think, in about 1977, up to 40, we considered farm tracts at 40. So you're able to go back and see these were actually permits that were given that are legit, but there's timetables that changed. This would give us that, bring all that information up fairly quickly, rather than us spending a lot of time going back through permits and keep backtracking a lot of things.
Okay, just one other curiosity. So you get one from 71, 68. So do you have to scan in order? So, I mean, once you pull that paper out, scan that in right away and then you have that one, or does it have to be an orderly transition of documents?
I don't believe it does. It's very uncommon we would get a request for something like that. I'll say a building permit for a dwelling in 1971. I don't know that I've ever gotten anything like that. We are typically accessing that type of information when, say, the current owner of that house is not the owner in 71 and they want to do some sort of addition, or they need a permit of some type on their parcel, and we'll do a parcel review to be sure that everything was permitted and is the way that it's complying with the ordinance. So that's when we're reviewing that. We do track those permit records in the new permit file. So if someone wants to build a shed, that type of information will go there.
Okay.
But when we're loading our database, we would probably be rescanning in from that year because it would be so few that we would have done.
Okay.
I'll go ahead. I was just going to say the real life example I would give. I learned actually a lot more about this when I had to do it myself when I built a new kitchen last summer. Instead of just relying on my next door neighbor to figure out what was done and when, it's having that historical process there. Not so much I need to go back 30, 40 years, but I need to go back at least back to the 80s and see, okay, when was this addition done, things of that nature. And what we found out is this has been a reactive byproduct of people going to the Beacon website to do research on a parcel and then having that extra information there. And then while they're there, then they can click on a couple buttons and they've applied for a permit as well.
Okay. Now we've got Rick to go back a lot of years too. Because,
So this
I'm
will
not
go
arguing
on the
that.
Beacon then also?
It could. We would have the ability to control how much information we want public facing. We can also have internal facing information on Beacon that's only available to county staff. But we would probably put, unless there's a good reason not to make it public facing, we would probably tend to go that way, and that it should cut down on phone calls to our office. If we can have information on past permits or even what the setbacks are for various things on there, that would reduce incoming calls to our office, which would be good. That's we spend a lot of time answering really simple zoning related questions now because folks want to access that on the county website. They are delving into the zoning ordinance, which is not the most user friendly document to navigate.
No, I am looking at this thing on my computer, and we talk about different offices that could be using this permitting software and different types of things that it could be used for. It doesn't involve just planning and zoning or land use. It's a lot of different stuff. Now, I'm assuming that we already have, Andy, don't go away.
yeah, come on in, Andy.
I'm assuming we already have software that we are using for things in the sheriff's office like handgun registration, marriage licenses, etc. Would this be something that would be beneficial for us to consider using this software for other areas instead of what we're using now, or would we be better off staying where we are, or don't we really know?
I guess I'll let him talk just in general about it. Specifically, I'll confess I haven't spoke with the sheriff about what type of software they have.
I understand that. I'm just throwing this out as, hey, maybe there's a way to get a little more efficient here.
I have, before you chime in, I guess I have reached out to the cities and La Crescent Township about their potential use of this software. If the county buys the software, the license could be extended to the other entities within our county boundaries. There's quite a bit of interest for most of the cities to do that. Some of the cities were actually looking to perhaps purchase their own, but being that they're relatively small, it could be cost prohibitive for a smaller city to do it. So it's a great, I guess the goal would be to take the value of this and spread it as widely as possible within the county.
That's kind of where I'm coming from, yeah.
This additional 10,000 for this contract, is that in addition to the 33,000 we have with the GIS contract?
That is a completely separate thing.
Right, it's a
Okay.
We're talking 10? Is that the
10,000.
figure?
To answer Commissioner Arnold's question or elaborate more, what we've seen is it usually starts in the planning and zoning office, but it truly is a workflow tool. We've had it, it's even been used for garage sale signups, where a city was getting out of control with their people having garage sales and they wanted to just get a little more organized. Some have used it for to sign up with the sheriff's office when they're gone over Thanksgiving. Just a simple 2 to 3 boxes just saying, hey, please drive by my house. I'm going to be gone during this day and this day. Just to check in. It starts with the planning and zoning, but what we've found out is it truly is an internal workflow tool.
with the workflow, our thought is to use it for really anything where we have a somewhat complex schedule that we have to adhere to closely. So if we're doing revisions to the ordinance, there's timelines for advertisement and actions. EAWs have timelines for various actions, and in particular, the buffer initiative. If we get to the point where we're doing an enforcement on a property, the statute lays out a lot of specific actions with specific timetables. This type of tool manages it not just for one individual, but brings in a whole team in that, so people are getting notifications that an action is needed, on this day, and again, it takes out the possibility of human error, which is important in those type of things.
Well, basically what I was looking for was ways of making what we have to do more efficient. If we can do something additional like you're talking about in a very cost-effective way, like not costing us anything, yeah, okay, we'll do it, but we're not looking for extra work that we don't have to do.
I agree. Here's what it is. The core of it is it's 8 o'clock at night. I own a construction company. I can apply for a permit online. I can do my research online. Everything is, pretty much almost everything is auto-populated because you're bringing in data from that specific parcel, legal description. I get an automatic email notification saying, thank you for applying for this. I can now go into my profile and track all the permits that I've been applying for. Typically, the power users are going to be managing multiple permits at the same time, I would assume.
In our case, those would be the septic providers.
Yeah.
But right now, though, all that auto-populated information, we're often doing that in the zoning office, where someone will come in and say, I want to build a grain bin. And they've got their name on the application, and that's about it. And they know what they want to build. And myself or Holly is completing their application for them. Now, that would still be an option, and we'd still anticipate doing a good percentage of those, but we'd be taking them to our workstations or a kiosk and pulling up this software, and it would auto-populate all those things. That's a benefit. The other benefit would be that as soon as they're applying the application, it's dumping all that information right into our database. Right now, we're filling out the applications for them on paper, and we're scanning in the paper applications, and then we're manually entering in all the data into Excel spreadsheets. So kind of threefold benefit there in terms of the workflow in our office. And we're doing a substantial amount. In 2016, did 130 zoning permits, 65 septic permits. That's 0.75 permits a day per workday. So if you think about the amount of I guess that's a lot of time, and it's not just the one action per permit. You oftentimes, especially for something like a house, you're interacting with the applicant 5 or 6 times before we're actually issuing a permit. So it has the potential to significantly cut down kind of low-value work we're doing now with helping people fill out forms. And my hope is that frees up time to work on higher-value work, planning type initiatives in the county.
One other comment. We've actually seen when a county has purchased this, we've actually seen the permit activity go up. The reason is because you initially go to the website first, and there's a big button there that you can click on to start the permitting process. And once you start it, you might not finish it, but Aaron would receive a notification email that a new permit has been applied for at 123 Main Street. Even if they get to the point where they have to pay for that permit, they might stop. That still gives him a contact of an address that is interested in a permit. So it allows him then to email that person or go to that person. I don't know how you respond to those, but it at least allows him to know, hey, there's someone that is interested in a permit at this address. So.
Andy, any thoughts from your perspective?
Well, knowing what they have in that office as far as the records management solution, I think anything would be a huge improvement to help streamline their process. And I think it's important that we start moving some more of these smaller offices into these types of things, because it does reduce man hours and streamline the office. There's big tasks that have to get done, and I think this would be a beneficial piece to their office.
Thank you.
We sought quotes from a couple companies, had meetings with various, Andy sat in a meeting with us, the assessor did, I think Commissioner Arnold, I believe you sat in the initial meeting we had with Schneider Corp. We talked to 2 off-the-shelf providers, and then one a company that builds custom products. At the end of all of that, we landed with Schneider. A couple reasons, I guess. We thought their product was a superior product, particularly because it integrates with the beacon that everyone in the county is familiar with. Also, the county's relationship with Schneider, I guess, in terms of how we're relying on them now for various components, makes it logical to continue that rather than having an offshoot with another company. The prices were pretty competitive. The other off-the-shelf product, the quote we got from them was $19,900. The Schneider quote we started with was $19,500, so they're right in the same range. And right, what we're asking for here today is for some extra money to help with the implementation, and I'll get into that in a moment. And then the custom built was a $34,000 product that the county owns, which seemed great, except that in 3 years when things have changed, we would then be in a position where we would perhaps have to hire a programmer to update things, or if we ever want to change anything, what we have is something that I certainly won't be able to, or likely couldn't manipulate myself, where in these off-the-shelf products, the intent is they train you and you can build your own permits moving forward.
So what is the cost for the software?
What we're asking for is $34,900.
34,000.
$34,900, and we're proposing to pay for that out of the 2017 buffer grant we have. So the county will receive $51,000 from the state for the buffer initiative this year. That money isn't earmarked for anything else. Many of the parcels are looking for waivers that defer their implementation time. The county doesn't act on the buffer program until a non-compliance has been certified by Soil and Water up to us. Because of these waivers, people don't have to come into compliance until 2018, and we'll receive another grant in 2018. So
what did we receive for the buffer money, did you say?
Thus far,
51.
we've received $25,936, and we'll receive the second half of that allotment in December.
In December, so we'll have 50,000.
It could pay for this entire program, and as I said, it would be a useful tool in terms of its workflow when we do begin to administer that program.
Okay. We had discussions about moving inspection back into the county.
Feedlot inspections?
Yeah.
Yep.
I thought we had talked about using grant money to cover that. Is that different grant?
Well, that would be the same grant, but that would be the 2018 grant, and then moving forward from there. So
Okay.
we don't have
Well, yeah, and this is one time.
Right, this
yeah.
is a one-time. Now, after we pay for the purchase and the implementation of the product, there is an annual service fee of $6,900. I guess the county would bear that entirely for the foreseeable future, but at some point in time, when we do begin to extend this to counties and townships, some of that cost, I think, could be recouped for their use of the product as well. So I don't think it would be substantial.
Okay.
Why is that annual subscription so high?
It's based on parcel count.
Okay.
It's it's a tiered system. You have
So it's not a flat rate.
It's just you have this many parcels.
Okay.
So and this is just from the 10 years, give or take, that we've had this. We've kind of learned, like, this is where it's at. And what we've also seen too is the trend is a county purchases it, and then local cities start to learn about it and say, hey, I want to get involved with this workflow tool. And that's up to you, the county, how you decide to, I guess,
Assess the
if
cost.
a city wants to, if a city wants to say, hey, I'll chip in $1,000 a year, that's up to you guys. So.
And I have talked to all the cities. Most of them expressed some level of interest. We didn't get into what it might cost, but I presented it as something we provide for a fee, although a reasonable fee. I think out of that,
6,900 per city, sound about right? Okay, just so I can get a grasp on this. So
Sure.
I know, like, normal annual subscriptions to a product, a lot of it is the yearly update that you get plus customer support. What is the annual, in this case, the annual subscription fees? What are we getting for that? Like, what is it that every year that we're getting? Like, I know you said parcel count, but
Any type of, Aaron emails us and says, hey, we really need this added to the permitting software. People keep, the easiest example is people were asking for inspection scheduling. So now we have something in our tool, because multiple clients kept asking for it. So now they can send out a calendar invite for inspections, as an example.
The product isn't static, is it? You're constantly.
No, yeah, we have 2 people that are working on it 40 hours a week.
okay, so it's not a.
I misunderstood.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I guess my background is like with our CAD software. It's the software, and you pay $1,700 a year, and every year they give you a new CD that you update, and it's your customer service, and that's it. So that's why I was thinking, like, pretty steep just to get that. So, but you're saying there's.
Yeah, Aaron's gonna get quarterly emails, give or take, for like, here's what we added to the permitting product, and
Okay.
it costs $6,900 no matter what. I mean, that's what it is.
We talked about how it interfaces with Beacon, and something I would love to see is if folks are going to access Beacon first, which is pretty common. I think it's probably over 50% of the folks who come in and ask about building something have that printout.
And that's what we found out. Yeah.
If they could actually draw the rudiment or estimated boundaries of their building on there and have that kick right to their permit, that's something that they're working on developing. I think you're getting those types of things.
The latest and greatest thing we're working on in 2.0 is geofencing. I can't think of a better term for it. So pretty much where I apply for a permit in this spot, and it says, and it dings you and it says, no, you are located in this city, or you are located in the county.
Oh.
Please contact, or,
So if somebody was doing something, I mean, it would instantly tell you if there is an issue.
Yes, we're not. That's not live yet, but we found
That's
that
what
out
you're working on.
because of a county and city in Iowa who both purchased our permitting products separately. What was happening was people were applying for the city or the county. It's amazing how many people we found out did not know if they lived in the city or county. That's what we're trying to get at.
I guess.
get those calls a lot.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to make an automated process to where just wherever you drop the dot on the map, it just automatically knows.
So would it be fair to say that the goal, the large picture, is that you could go to Beacon and get a lot of things set up prior to coming to the zoning office, so you're not.
Oh, you could fully submit the whole application
So where you
on the
just-
computer if you wanted to, but again, given our demographics, I don't know that that's going to be. I bet it would be about 50%.
Let me
Yeah.
Let me say something with that too. Is what we also found out too is what county starts to do is to have just a computer up front at the zoning office, so that people still don't have to fill it out. They just someone in the planning zoning office just sits there and interviews the person. Okay, what's
Yep.
your address?
Yep.
Okay, click here, and then they hit print. Here, sign here. Okay, done.
I could see that. Yeah.
The last piece on the price, I guess, based on the quotes that came in from the 2 off the shelves, which both had annual maintenance fees, and then the custom built which you own outright, your software's perhaps being subsidized a bit by your, the buying the product outright is $35,000. Buying it from the companies that have the maintenance fee is $20,000. It kind of seemed to me like when I go to buy my phone and they say you can buy it outright for $600 or sign a contract and you get it for significantly less. It costs what it costs. It's just how you pay for it.
Sure.
Are you paying for it up front, or are you paying for it over
On the
time?
backside, yeah.
And the last comment I'll say is the experience we've learned as well is that there's a lot of work up front, and so that's why Aaron chose what he did. So we do a lot of the work for you up front, building those out, and then on the back end, it's more tweaking them.
That and we have that grant money available this year, so it seemed like a good use of that to get us set up.
Any other questions?
I think one thing we've kind of glazed over is what this does for the consumers. I think a lot of people can do a lot more without coming in here, can do it at night, after work, that we gotta remember that this could be very helpful to people. You know, if I gotta fill out a permit, you know, to try to get to the courthouse on time is not easy.
Or during work days when you gotta work, you
Right.
take time off. Or,
Yeah, you wanna do it at 8 o'clock at night,
Right.
not.
Well, and let's face it, a lot of people will still work Saturdays even.
Yeah, that's right.
Where I've got inspectors out there, and what I like about the SEER thing is, say a septic system, when I go out there now doing the inspections, we also GPS those systems in and where they're actually on the ground, all the benchmarks, everything is sitting there. And let's face it, right now, there's a lot of housing that's being sold. All that information is sitting right there, so the inspector, instead of waiting for the office to open up, he got that information all sitting there. They can go out there and do it, the second inspection right off of that,
Right.
and it expedites things a lot.
Okay, so we need approval for.
Need a motion to approve the purchase.
Right, motion to approve the purchase for the permitting software.
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else?
Not today, no, thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah, that's
gentlemen.
enough for one.
Did I get all 5 of you this time? Or no?
I think
Pardon?
you got
Did I get all 5? All right.
So,
Thank you.
cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Gentlemen, madam, thank you for your time.
Yep.
Are you going to be here for the day?
I can.
Well,
You just approve your contract, I'll be here as long as you want.
well, can you be here till noon at least?
Yes.
Okay.
You can do that. Yep.
All right. I have a question for you after.
I have to get to Bemidji.
Do you have a contract we need to sign?
sometime. Bemidji's on the way from Des Moines.
Yeah, Bemidji's close. Yeah.
Yeah.
The basic question is, where will you be in about a half hour?
Thank you.
Probably pestering the assessor or something. I will be available.
Okay, we'll
It'll be
check at the
someplace
assessor's
in that end of the building.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
You will find me. Let's put it that way. All right.
Thank you.
Good? Yep. All right, consent agenda. We really don't have anything on there.
Just a payroll notice.
Just, okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Discussion items. Commissioner reports and comments. Fred?
Well, this might take a little while, and it might cause some discussion, and that's fine, it should. As I've explained privately to quite a few people over the last 3 or 4 weeks, the basic premise that we're operating under at this point, as far as staffing this place is concerned, is we would like to see if we can get a bit more efficient here in our use of people, in our use of equipment, whatever it is. We would just as soon try to get a little more efficient. Now, we as commissioners aren't here every day, and we aren't here 40 hours a week, and so sometimes we really don't quite get it. And so things tend to move a little slowly because it takes us a while to really kind of figure out. But one of the ways, probably the primary way, that we have of trying to become more efficient is, as far as personnel is concerned, is simply through attrition. When somebody moves to a different job or retires or whatever, is there a way there that we can figure out, or that department heads can figure out, that personnel can figure out somewhere to make this total operation a little bit more efficient. That's kind of where we're coming from. The other thing that plays into this concept of being more efficient is, Andy's gone, unfortunately, but he might have been able to tell us how much money have we spent, and we just spent more, on electronic things, computers, software, whatever, all in the name of, as you heard, becoming more efficient. Okay? Logically, then, we've spent a whole lot of money in the last, I'm guessing, 20 years, to become more efficient, to do less paper work and more work on the computer. One of the ideas would be, that occurs to me, although I'm not quite computer illiterate, but it's borderline. When you have 3 or 4 offices who are dealing with the same piece of paper, isn't there a way to do that that's more efficient than moving that paper back and forth? Well, we're working on this, and sometimes we don't work very fast on it. But I have been fairly regular about attending department head meetings, and I was at a department head meeting this last week that got kind of counterproductive, because people were tending to argue with each other rather than about a specific situation or a couple, 3 different situations, instead of working together constructively to try to solve the problem. Now, we as managers, I think, need to be sensitive to that, because there are people there who were, and I was among them, who were very frustrated by that meeting because there was a fair amount of anger and a bunch of defensiveness going on there. That's not working together trying to solve a problem. And we need to frame, as a board, I think we need to somehow frame this discussion in a way, somehow, that will produce working together to solve the problem rather than going at it like that. I'm done.
Comments?
I was at that department head meeting too, and I found that when people were trying to talk, they would be constantly be interrupted and not allowed to finish what they were trying to say, and that frustrated people too, you know. When they did try to discuss something, they were kind of, no, that's not right, you know, this is the way it should be. And yeah, there was frustration at it, you know.
I guess the only thing I'll say about that is not being there, just hearing what you've had to say. You know, numerous times I've tried to get department head meeting, the department heads, to structure the meeting in a manner that would allow for better discussion. Having an agenda, having somebody in charge.
You needed somebody basically in charge to say, now let them finish. They're trying to say something instead of interrupting and.
Yeah. And I mean, numerous times I've brought that up. That, you know, and I think that a lot of it boils down to the structure of the meeting, how it's being handled, who's in charge, which again is, you know, we struggle with all the time as a board is the lack of not leadership, but leadership in the aspect of who's in charge. You know, and at the department head meetings, you know, I've brought that up many times, and I think that's gonna have to be figured out, that this person's in charge, here is the agenda, this is what we're talking about, let's keep on track.
And let everybody speak without being interrupted. Yeah, somebody in charge, yeah.
Well, the thing that bothers me, of course, on it is that we have a lot of really very, very good, very, very talented people here as department heads. And right now, we're getting this a little bit too much, and we're not getting enough of this. And yeah, you're absolutely right. But then, how do you determine who's going to chair the meeting? How do you determine who's going to determine the agenda? How do you do that?
Well,
Do you want the board members that are there to be doing that function? And then you run into the situation where, but those people are only here about how many hours a week? Probably less than 10. Okay.
So last year, I had a lengthy conversation about that just before the end of the year, and there was a lot of discussion about that. And the talk was that you'd have somebody appointed that would be in charge for the entire year. Because what also happens is every time you had somebody that rotated, it would be a different department every week. Well, then who is it this week? How do I get the idea to get on the agenda?
Month.
Or that's what I mean, month. You know, somebody has something they want to get on there. Well, who's in charge? Who's putting it down? Who's taking notes? And I said that the meeting, if you're going to have that many people involved, where you're going to have 12 people plus involved at every meeting, you need to have somebody designated, this person's in charge, that we know this year, this person was elected to run the meeting, you know, appointed, not elected, well, I guess elected by their peers.
Okay, who's going to appoint?
But that's the thing, you know, if the group said, okay, we're gonna have this person in charge for this year, good. Everything's submitted to them, they write the agenda, they're in charge of that, somebody's gonna take notes, you know, it needs to be better structured. Because what's happened year after year, of at least what I've seen over the 7 years or whatever that I've been here, is that there's no structure, it's just a group talking and nothing gets done. What's the agenda? What's the topic? Who's on charge? Who's taking notes for those people that aren't gonna be there, that can say, this is what was discussed, this is what's coming up next week, you know, that otherwise it's just a waste of time because it's counterproductive.
Yeah. Now, the question becomes...
Well, I guess, who schedules the meeting? When is it
It's
called?
always fourth Tuesday of each month.
Okay.
Fourth Tuesday of each month at 1 o'clock.
At 1 o'clock.
Which, of course, conflicts with the meeting in Mabel. It conflicts with the meeting in Mabel,
Which is-
the health thing.
Yeah.
Just wondering, you know, if this suggestion were to move forward, who initiates it? You know, I mean, is there I mean, they don't have any.
Well, that's the problem at this point,
Yeah.
as near as I've been able to figure out, and Justin's talked about it. There really isn't anybody in charge.
Well, they rotate.
They sort of rotate, but I have never really been able to consistently figure out, okay, who's actually in charge of this particular meeting? Because it doesn't come off that way.
And that's what I think is gonna be the first step in resolving the issue, is sitting down at that meeting and saying, okay, let's restructure it, who are we putting in charge? Who's volunteering to be in charge? If nobody's volunteering, then who's gonna get voted in to head it up? You know, I mean, that's the first thing.
I think we could
is
do
getting
that next
you know.
month. I'd be glad to
And
bring
having
that
an
up and
agenda
put
every
somebody.
week that
Yeah.
this is what is, and at the end of
Month.
every meeting, you talk about what's gonna be on the agenda for the next meeting, so everybody's on the same page.
Or who to contact
Mhm.
about being on the agenda. We can
Yeah.
take care of that. I'd be glad to bring that up.
Okay.
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 I would just comment on Fred's comment about this versus this, and that's, I spoke with someone the other day, a department head actually, and but I used a football analogy for, like, but, I mean, recently, we chose someone to be the starting quarterback. So I would have liked to have seen anyone who was chosen to be the backup quarterback be a team member. I'm going to do whatever I can to assist the person chosen as quarterback, not deciding how can I undermine the quarterback. Furthermore, if we ran a run-oriented offense and decided to change to a pass-oriented offense, I would hope that everybody on the team would accept that and work to make it the best offense that we could have, again, rather than how can we dig our heels in and make this as difficult as we can. You know, I could give some ideas. The person could say, I don't particularly like the change, but if we're going to go that way, how about if we tried this in conjunction with this? Or how about I have an idea that, maybe we could save here or create efficiency here. I'm not seeing it. And I think the meeting, although I didn't attend it, have had plenty of feedback on it, I think was a prime example of let's not cooperate for the best. Let's see how much conflict we can keep going here. And so I think this is a good idea.
I don't think there's quite as much of that going on as you've been led to believe.
I don't think so either. And I was there.
I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I hope I hope not. I hope that the reports I've gotten have been more negative than necessary. But this, I think, is a good first step. If we can, if you're willing to address it at the meeting, and
I would be glad to do that.
It's a situation where, at that particular moment in that particular meeting, there was more negativity than there should have been by quite a bit. However, as I said a while ago, we've got some extremely talented people in that room, and we just need to figure out how to challenge them to move forward instead of doing this. And
that's my point.
I'm not concerned. I'm not really uptight about it, that this isn't going to work and we aren't going to be able to do this and we're going to have problems from here on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No, I'm not in that mode at all.
Good.
I'm in the mode of, hey, this needs to be fixed a little bit. Let's figure out how to fix it, and let's move ahead and go ahead and fix it.
Okay.
We'll be fine.
Good.
We've got very good people. We'll be fine. But we need to be aware that right now there's a bit too much of this, and we need to be aware that we need to find ways to do more of this.
All right. Anything else, Fred?
Hey, I'm done. I've taken
Teresa.
darn near 15 minutes. I gotta be done.
Do I get 15 minutes too?
14.
If necessary.
No, I don't have. I got contacted by the state extension office that they were unable to fill the position for our district director. So we're starting over again with applications. The people that we came down to the last three finalists, none of them really worked out good for our region. So we're starting over. So I now have 3 more days in Rochester interviewing all this. And then I did get a call from a journalist. I don't call him a journalist, but he writes for the papers on the status of all of our road projects in Houston County. So, of course, where do we start? Brian. He answered most of the questions, and they just really called me to see comments I had, especially from my district with County 6 Bridge, and which was remedied. So those were my 2 main things.
Yeah, I got a call from, or spoke with Ready Bus 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
how long is this gonna be and what's it,
Yeah.
They were all,
But
Brian,
they
Brian had
realized
given
how
them
bad that
information.
bridge really was, that it
Yeah.
had shifted, the abutments had shifted. It could be similar to the I-35 bridge,
Yeah, so,
especially with the truck traffic nowadays. So,
good.
yeah.
Scott?
I have no comments.
Neither do I.
Okay, I would just indicate, I was supposed to have a meeting last night of Hiawatha Valley Mental Health in Winona. The director got ill and it was canceled, but there's big news up there in terms of a new facility and so forth, so looking forward to the next meeting. There's supposed to be a tour and so forth, so that was put off, but other than that, I can't think of anything of pressing significance. So with that, we have no one to public comment. I would accept
Motion to adjourn?
that-
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.